Today is a tricky topic, phone etiquette, and what to do when you get into situations you really don't want to be in. For those of you who are brand new, my name is Allie, and I run Princess ME Parties, which is based in Los Angeles, California. When you're on the phone, it can get really, really stressful, high stakes. You have to think about things on the spot, and you can't really go back and reference what you said on the phone. It's hard to remember. It's all a blur. Personally, if I could live on emails, I would. I love writing. I love what I can do when I think things through and write it out. But you gotta answer the phone sometimes. It's true. Does anyone else get really anxious when they answer the phones? Is it just me? I know it's just not me. I've been doing this 7+ years now with my own company, and there are still days that I'm just like, I really, really don't want to answer the phone. I really just would rather do something else than return that phone call. I'd rather send an email, text message. It's so much easier. But it's gotta happen. You've gotta level it up. You've gotta be answering the phones. And if you really turn the tables and turn it into an opportunity, into a chance to grow your business and connect with your clients, you're going to feel so much more excited about a phone call. So let's get started. Let me know if you've ever heard one of these questions. Can I get a discount? Can I change my party details for the 5th time? Can you do it for exposure? Has anyone ever heard one of those questions? I cringe because I know what's going on behind the scenes, and I think it's really important for you all to understand. So my method is very psychological. It's very analytical, and that stuff can be taught. You can learn the tools and techniques so that you feel confident going into these phone calls and you know what to keep an eye out for. But sometimes you'll find that it's not necessarily a client who I would classify into that high maintenance category, but somebody who just doesn't know any better. I know how to tackle them and I know how to win them over, but I also know when to walk away. So let's dive into this. Okay, so why do we get these questions? Going back to that psychological, the analytical, let's really figure out why. There's a few reasons. Budget, inexperience, entitlement, lack of connection, and customization. So we got 5 different things there. 5 different reasons as to why they're asking these questions. Why they're not saying instead, can I give you my credit card information? I want to book now. That's ideal. Like, hey, I want to book. Take my credit card information. Like, that's the best. All my questions are answered. You don't need to say anything. Like, that's ideal, right? But how often does that really happen? Not too often. They usually have a question or two. So let's really go first into budget. And that's the question, can I have a discount? So, this is a big one. This is a big one to unpack because there are a lot of different reasons as to why somebody would ask. Put them into 2 categories. First one is the person who has saved up all year for this special thing. And you are the one thing they're hiring. You're that one thing. So someone who contacts you and has been saving up all year, you just really hope that they would have looked at your website and figured out your pricing and been saving up to that. Maybe you've updated your prices since they last looked, so that's why they're a little hesitant. Maybe they remembered it wrong. Maybe they wrote it down wrong. Everyone's got a budget. Not everybody can afford what we do, which is something to remember. We are priced a certain way because we are entertainers. We are artists. You're worth it. You don't need to lower your price. But what you do need to do is offer a variety of options. So I find that if someone comes in asking for the moon and they get the stars, it'll be okay. They'll get something. You just got to be really careful with offering discounts. And I want to warn you about that and my thoughts behind it, because what can happen is you can get that client, but then they tell their friends, just ask for a discount. I got it for this much. Ooh, does that feel good? You've made an exception, but they don't look at it like that. Their friends don't know that. So now you are in a sticky situation where you end up on the phone again and somebody says, well, Janet got that price. I want that price. Not good. Not good, right? But you really are setting the expectation. Sometimes you'll get these clients who want it all, and you don't know that they are contacting 12 different vendors and they have these big dreams of what they want and that it costs a certain amount. Or maybe they do know that it costs a certain amount and they're just asking. They're just asking, hey, can you give me discounts? So that's tricky because you get to that party and you're like, wow, they could afford it. I could have stood by my worth and gotten my asking price. That sucks. That's a crummy situation to be in. So my solution to all of that is to have a variety of offerings. I want to know, do you all have a variety of offerings on like a sliding scale, like a bunch of different price points? Because when somebody calls me asking for the moon and I say, well, okay, we can do that price, and this is what you'll get instead. And so I give them the stars. I want you all to remember, stand by your worth. Don't contribute to that stigma of the starving artist by lowering your prices and creating a slippery slope in which you will end up with more clients who expect discounted rates. A simple answer, I'm sorry, we don't have any discounts at this time. Maybe you could have a discounted character. Well, if you want that price, this is who we've got this month as our special. Something to keep in mind. You want to be prepared and avoid lowering your worth. Okay. All right, this making sense? I think it's super valuable and a great way to really shift your energy and your focus about this conversation. You get that question about price and somebody pushes back. It's usually about them and their problems with money and their mindset behind spending money. So try not to take it personally too. Okay, great. So let's talk inexperience. Inexperience is somebody who's never hosted an event with characters or ever been to one before. I really want you all to remember when you are dealing with these clients that they called you for a reason, right? So really remember that when you're on the phone with them and listen to those cues where they're asking questions that you're like, I don't think they've done this before. And you could totally ask them. Ask questions. Get connected with them. Really get deep into what they're thinking. Who says you can't ask questions? It's a phone call. It's a conversation. So if they've never had a party before, but they're calling you, they trust you, you just really need to explain things in detail. Check in with them throughout the conversation and make sure that they're understanding and if they have any questions. But just be prepared to go in detail and show them that you are the professional in this. You run this business for a reason. You've been around for this long. Like, toot your own horn. Let them know they can trust you. All right, moving on to entitlement. Oh, I roll my eyes because I've dealt with this. I live in Los Angeles. That is where my company is based. We deal with a lot of this. I have 100,000 followers or more. Will you do it for exposure? I have dealt with actually having TV shows and celebrities contact me. You know they can afford it, right? You know celebrities can afford it. So this whole exposure thing hurts the industry, hurts artists. Don't do it. I will stand on the soapbox tall and loud and say don't do exposure. Now, I have talked before about how to partner with businesses, TV shows, business influencers, business. So how do you go about working with influencers then? Do you give it for free or do you create a special contract and agreement? Now, I warn you that there's nothing you can do to really make them stand by their agreement other than take them to court, which is really tricky. So make sure that you're just charging your worth and write anything additional out in detail if you are trading for any kind of shout outs and things like that. But just be warned that just because you write it out, just because they agree to it, doesn't mean it's going to happen. So be really careful with that. Be really selective. Be super selective. This sending some light bulbs off for all of you because sometimes it just takes somebody coming in and being like, don't do that. Or do that in order for you to be like, yeah, she's right. I know we're all trying to run these businesses combined with everything else going on in our life, and it can get a little overwhelming. I'm just here to say I'm here to help and guide you. We can do this, okay? All right, next one. This is a lack of connection. Lack of connection is basically coming back to our like, know, trust factor. In order for someone to buy, they need to like you, they need to trust you, and they need to know who you are. So a lot of these clients who are coming in and they don't have that connection to you, they maybe heard about you through a friend, maybe just checked out your website briefly or your social media, but they don't really know much about you. They don't really feel like they can fully trust you. Maybe that's a lack of reviews. Maybe that's a lack of good marketing and copy on your website. When you have them on the phone, this is your chance. This is your chance to win them over. I do this with asking them questions, personal questions, questions about their event, questions about their kids. Just connect with them. Get to know them genuinely. And you're on the phone. Have a connection. And then once you get that going, then you can start to bring in why you do what you do, why you started this all, a fun story from last weekend. Really connect with them. All All right, last one. Customizations. Oh my, customizations. I've seen a lot of you post about this. A lot of you post about this. As someone who's been running my business for 7 years, I can honestly say that if you tell a client what's in the package and that's that, a lot of them will just buy it. They'll not ask questions. The ones who start asking for customizations, it usually leads to what I've seen in this group talked about before. Well, if I don't do XYZ, can I get this much off? So on that, I would like to remind you to really stand by your tried and true tested packages, because as soon as you start making exceptions and custom changes, you are now jumping into the field of this is something new. You haven't tested this before. This client has made a custom request. So you set the expectation here and you're coming in not doing it before? You think that's going to work? If you have flexible packages, things like games, we do games kind of thing rather than explaining the games, you can be a little bit flexible in there, but be really careful with creating custom packages for people because you really got to be on your game. Approach that with caution. I would say though that you need to have a change policy. This applies to customizing packages and also last minute changes, people calling in for the third time who are like, well, we want to move it now 15 minutes this way, or we want to move it to the next day, or change characters. That stuff can really throw you off. So make sure you have a policy that really explains that in detail so that you can be like, sure, it's going to cost this much. And they're like, what? It's like, that was sent over with your booking. And they sometimes will be like, okay, never mind, we're cool. But always ask questions too. Sometimes you can avoid the change by asking, well, why do you want to make this change? We do have this policy. And they'll explain it. And then you could probably even avoid making the change because you can answer their question and ease their worry just in that conversation. Be careful with the bartering stuff though, okay? Be careful with lowering your packages and making changes, doing 45 minutes or 30 minutes instead of an hour. Have a minimum, stick to it. It's there for a reason because I personally don't like getting dressed up for half an hour. Not worth it. And again, they share with their friends. You don't want to do that again and again. Oof. Oh, and on the topic of customization, we're talking large scale events and clients. Maybe they're throwing some huge thing and you've never done it before. A business or a corporate client and they really want to do something special. You want to know the quick answer to that? Tell them when you'll give them a quote. Don't feel pressured to give it on the phone. They don't do things in an instant. They don't expect it from you either. It's also much more professional to be like, sure, let me crunch the numbers. I'll go back to you at XYZ time. Just give them that timeline so that they know you heard them and they know when to hear from you. Okay. Does that make sense going into those things? I hope so, because psychology and analyzing things really allows you to lift that curtain and to see what's going on with your clients. I have some overall tips that I would like to cover here and ways you can really, really make your phone calls easier. First of all, master your pitch. You need to master what your value is, what your packages are, how to sell them, and in that, you need to know what to say when you get certain questions. Being prepared, never steer you wrong. Be prepared. Always ask questions on these phone calls because they're asking you questions. Why can't you do follow-up questions? Feel comfortable in saying, sorry, we can't do that. I remember in the beginning, I would get requests for custom characters. We want to talk about jumping into something brand new. What is more stressful than creating a custom package? Putting a brand new character on it. And I wouldn't even charge for it at first. And I was like, what was I thinking? What was I thinking? And how you customize, how you make exceptions, and keep an eye on the bigger picture. I think that's something important to really remember is the bigger picture, the long-term effects of your choices. Making a choice now for a quick buck down the line, not pan out too well. So first things first, our action items. I want you to check over your marketing. All of it. All of it. Why would these people be asking these questions? Are you missing something? Really make sure everything's super clear. I also want you to check over your policies, your terms and conditions. Make sure you have questions answered there and stuff to back you up. Very, very important. And then I want you to write out these common questions that you will get or have gotten in the past and how you're going to answer them and practice them. So there's 3 things I really want you to work on. Check your marketing, check your policies, write out your questions and answers, and you will be prepared. You will be prepared and you won't feel so overwhelmed, so anxious about a phone call. You'll instead hear the phone ringing and be like, oh, a booking, ooh, money, ooh, happy parent, happy kid, ooh, lifetime client. Oh, I hope this was super helpful. Does this seem to clarify and make you all feel a little bit more comfortable and confident going into phone calls? Do you feel better after this conversation? Because just talking out loud about it, I was like, wow, I really have developed some wonderful skills, super handy skills over the years, and I'm excited to share them. For those of you who are not signed up for my mailing list, please do. Please join my mailing list. I send out little reminders, little freebies, little notices as to what's going on. And as this whole thing grows, I'll keep you all involved in exactly where it's going. Hint, hint, there may be a digital course coming. I am so excited. I am so excited. You can do this. Answering phone calls doesn't have to be stressful. It can be really stressful at times, but if you don't show it, if you know how to handle it, if you're prepared, you got this. Oh, sob stories. Thank you. I actually forgot to include that. Okay, sob stories. So I have a friend who runs a company, and she says she's gotten taken advantage of many times with sob stories. Unfortunately, there's no way for us to really validate sob stories, so I take sob stories in the same category as fundraising for the schools. Set a budget that you want to give for the year and set a special package. Maybe have a pre-recorded option. Have some go-to. Be prepared and use your discretion. But it's really easy to get caught up in that. And then if they're lying, which who would do that? But it's happened. They could possibly tell all the friends. So it's important to have a budgeted sob story fundraiser category. And then you could go from there. Maybe partnering with a nonprofit. Hi, I'm so sorry, but here's a nonprofit. That's another option. Just think through exactly what feels right for you. But I recommend really setting a budget as to how much you can do in a year. All right. Well, I hope you all have a magical rest of the day. See you next week. Thank you all so much. Have a magical day.